Get that Brett Schultz bowled a speed light that morning, and but just to get into that test match, just to finally step into a test match versus India at the old grand lady of test venues, Old Kingsmead, was a great occasion.
The series was closely fought and fairly low scoring. Compared, I would imagine, to the wickets back in India. I think they found our seamers quite difficult to handle. Craig Matthews did well. Alan Donald was probably at his peak, bowling really quickly.
The teams would go on to play tests in Johannesburg, Port Elizabeth and Cape Town. At St. George's Park, a lethal Alan Donald demolished the Indian batting lineup to hand South Africa a 9-wicket victory. That win saw Kepler Wessel's side go on to clinch the series. That would be the start of South Africa's undefeated series record at home, a marker which still stands today. Donald would finish the series with 20 wickets, landing the Man of the Series award.
It's very well taken in third slip. It's a fine catch by Andrew Hudson at third slip. Good delivery from Donald.
Not only a personal challenge for me to do well in the series, but to have a massive singular input in the series, and being a leader of the bowling attack, that was my job, is to lead from the front, and also to make sure that the targeted players in the team is always priority number one. So their key players, the Tendulkars, the Azharuddins and those guys, for me it was my job to make sure that we go after them.
India's presence in South Africa inspired young and old. While in Durban, their wicketkeeper Kiran More would go on to inspire a cricket-crazy 2-year-old. The former Indian international would make a brave prediction about Keshav Maharaj's future.
He's got the hat-trick! Just the second by a South African, Keshav Maharaj. Excellent.
He's a very good family friend, used to stay at home with us, so I know him quite well. So, he was the one guy that looked at me when I was a youngster and said that I'm going to be a cricketer. So I think that's my greatest fond memory from, that whole generation and crop that played around that time.
Uncertain political times meant many young cricketers were unsure of their sporting futures. That momentous series would serve as a glimmer of hope.
The first experience of me actually watching international cricket was South Africa versus India. I was still at high school, standard 7. No more, not a grade, standard 7. And I remember just, when dream would have wondered or thought that one day I would have been actually playing against some of those players.
South Africa's first tour to India came in 1996. The Proteas, under the leadership of the late Hansie Cronje, would give a good account of themselves in the subcontinent despite losing the series. It was a baptism of fire for South African fast bowlers who grew up on fast and bouncy wickets. The lack of pace in the subcontinent can humble any quick.
No grass, nothing. You can actually lean and you can see the waves of heat. And then you see those small cracks. If you're a rural boy, you go to the dam that there's no water. You see those little small cracks. And then you know that as a seamer, you stand no chance.
Paul Adams brought a new element to the South African Test team. He was a genuine wicket-taker with an air of mystery. He made his mark in the third Test of the series in Kanpur, finishing with figures of 6 for 55.
Before the game, Hansie Cronje, the captain, came up to me and he said, "Paul, look, I've seen you do all these things, somersaults, things." He says, "Do something different. Be someone different. We need this within the game. I want to get you energized. If you take a wicket, just express yourself." Okay, I said, okay, thanks. I never knew I was going to be doing 6 somersaults that innings.
Battles between these two nations hardened their players. John Cullis emerged as a talented all-rounder, while spinner Nicky Boyer also announced his arrival. By the turn of the millennium, South Africa returned to India to claim a first-ever series win on their soil.
A tremendous performance from Hansie Cronje and his team. They won the series 2-0. Hansie, many congratulations. You would have expected to come here and compete, but to win 2-0, did you expect that?
Well, the guys have been playing some good cricket in the last 18 to 19 months, and this was certainly one of our goals for the season. So we had high hopes coming over here. In '96, we learned a lot about the conditions, and obviously the team has been together for a long time and has obviously been competing over the last 2 years. So we're very, very happy with the way it came out.
You need to be in India more than any other place in the world. You need to be very creative in your thinking. You cannot stop or let an hour go by without you trying to think about something else, because the pitches just don't allow you to be a one-trick pony. I love playing in India, and I'm very proud that we have won a Test series there 2-0. I think that was our best achievement.
Just a year into his captaincy, Graeme Smith led the Proteas for the first time in India in 2004. Facing the elements in the subcontinent helped shape his leadership approach.
Your first ever experience into India is just an eye-opening one. You know, just playing in those conditions, living in the different environments, the different foods, the different smells, you know, and seeing the ball spin sideways is also a hell of an experience. So, you know, I think as a youngster coming through, when you start to engage in those experiences, it's tough. It's a lot of learning, and it's a huge challenge to overcome.
Winning away from home elevates any Test side. When the Proteas arrived in India in 2008, it was the start of a special period for them. Playing well against India was the foundation for a team that would go on to conquer the world.
Once again, Philander does it.
You know, I think the confidence you gain from winning and competing in India, and that your side is growing and you're able to understand conditions, you're able to be successful in different parts of the world, then gave us the confidence to then go to England, compete there, win in Australia and so on. So, you know, confidence is a funny thing. Once you start understanding your game, type of players you need, it all starts to click, and that Indian tour was a big slot for us.
Test series between India and South Africa has always brought the best out of players. On a sizzling day in Chennai back in 2008, Virender Sehwag compiled one of the most mesmerizing innings this great rivalry has ever seen.
Ball one, it does not even go higher than me. Then you know that, okay, now it will need a strong head to be able to survive in India. Sehwag stands and delivers 300 before end of play.
And they are just screaming, Viru, Viru, you know, and it was just, I mean, that type of atmosphere, it's numbing initially because you can't hear your thoughts almost, and you can't hear your fellow teammates.
The ball before tea, I think he was in the 90s or something like that. So I said to Mackay, let's bring the field up and test him, you know, on the last ball, see what he does. You know, so we thought we'd apply some pressure on him, but it didn't change his mindset. He smashed it into the stands for 6, and we walked off for tea. And Mackay and I had a little chuckle.
It was painful. It was painful because it was so hot in Chennai, but it was just a masterclass of batting, attacking batting.
Fanfare aside, the fundamental battle between bat and ball enthralls. Donald versus Tendulkar, a key matchup, enjoyed by millions around the world. A battle between genuine pace
brilliant catch by Daryl Cullinan.
And elegant stroke play.
Donald is over pitching, and he's giving Tendulkar a bit of width, so he goes for 2 boundaries in a row. Beautifully played by the little man.
No South African bowler has taken more wickets against India than White Lightning.
The wicket that always stands out is at Old Kingsmead when I knocked over Tendulkar after lunch, and with probably one of the best balls I bowled.
What Donald wanted, and he goes on a celebratory run. He has just what his captain wanted him to do before lunch.
The celebration that came out of me was from nowhere. It was very spontaneous. The arms stretched out wide, and it just that just showed you again the value that you have on that particular wicket and knocking over Tendulkar and the importance of it.
South Africa had quickly gained an edge over India. The Indians, however, would not take that line down. They fought back by snapping up one of South Africa's foremost cricket minds. Stay with us.
Recognize you need to knock the top guy. It was one of those things as well that if I sleep at night, I calculate which players I want to get them out. So they are the best. If you mention those players, man, you become a good bowler because they respect you. They respect you no matter where you are. If you can be able to get Tendulkar twice, you get Dravid, you get Laxman, you get Sehwag. Those are big hitters.
While the battle was fierce and competitive on the pitch, away from it, South African and Indian players have always shared a special relationship. These days, the Indian Premier League has helped further entrench that bond.
No, Anil Kumble is a special man. Even after stopped playing, he came down to South Africa. We talk about spin bowling, talk about different things, and funny enough, only at the back end after we played, he came to me and he said, "Do you know that you actually showed me how to bowl the googly with your two fingers?" So I would hold my grip would be the two fingers in my pointing finger and my thumb. But he figured out that if he held it with his middle one and that he had better control with his googly. So that relationship, talking, watching each spinner, what they do best within conditions is very important.
India is also a special place for South Africans of Indian descent. The likes of Amla and Maharaj have a distinct connection to the country. Maharaj recalls a special moment for him while on tour, celebrating the Hindu festival of Navaratri.
I'd lost my grandmother 2 years before that, but I've always wanted to go back and do something for her, but obviously time never allowed. And I remember buying, I think it was 20 saris or something, and obviously, as people know, Navaratri is celebrating the nine goddesses, and it was actually the 9th day. And the ground staff, the ladies that work over there were there, and they were very grateful. But, from my point of view, it was the most satisfying and humbling feeling to see how grateful someone was for just being offered something from a religious point of view. So I think that was probably my fondest memory.
18 years since readmission, South Africa's dominance over India in Test cricket was clear. South Africa fought valiantly in the subcontinent and remained resolute on home soil. Indian administrators wanted to tap into the inner workings of the South African side. In 2008, they made a brave call to former Proteas opener Gary Kirsten.
Well, I went into this interview and it was quite an intimidating space, as you can imagine. Lots of BCCI board officials, they were basically going to interview me, and they said to me, "Gary, so would you present your vision for Indian cricket?" So I said, "Well, I don't have one." I thought that was going to be the end of the interview, and then Ravi Shastri stood up and said, "Well, Gary, what do you guys do as a South African team? How do you strategize to beat the Indians?" And it was a good icebreaker. I thought, okay, at least I could answer that. So I came up with all our kind of strategies that we used in India and in South Africa. And they were obviously suitably impressed by my 2-minute answer, because I was then offered a contract.
Kirsten would go on to lead India to the 50-over World Cup title. But how did he get the best out of the team?
I think it was based on just building that relationship out, rather than me coming into the Indian environment and saying, "I've been watching you guys play and you're not playing the right way. I think you need to play this way," which is not what they wanted.
Kirsten left the role after the World Cup victory, but he put in place building blocks that would serve India in the years to come. While the battles were always competitive between these two nations, the 2015 series in India was a ghastly one-sided affair. India thrashed the Proteas 3-0, with Ravi Ashwin taking 31 wickets in the series.
My first experience was crazy. I think we spent 73 days in India in some very iffy hotels, and we played like 2.5-day test matches, and we had a lot of dead time, and there's a lot of self-reflection that you can do in such a series that can either make or break you. But I definitely think in my case that definitely made me a lot tougher, a lot stronger as a player and as a character. But yeah, it was a real tough one. Even our experienced players, I think their eyes were quite big after a few of the games, and that just showed that it was a little bit of a joke in saying that. But I mean, that's water under the bridge now.
Now they think they've got Ajimamla here.
Cricket-wise, the toughest series that I've ever played in Test cricket. It's not not because of the time duration of the Test, like 3 or 4 days anyway. So we were well rested. It was because of the mental battle that we had to get through. That okay, we're batting second. Yeah, all right, guys, bowlers, shove up. I mean, we had one Test in Nagpur where Mone was bowling off cutters, opening the bowling off cutters. You don't get that, you know. So now we laugh about it, and at the time we were also, smiling about it, because this is something new in Test cricket that we're experiencing. As tough as it is, as down and out as we seemed to be, there was always a smile on our face, because we knew that these experiences that people don't get, and we were fortunate to get. So I'm happier for it, because there was a lot of good that came out of it.
The ongoing rivalry has served as a money spinner for Cricket South Africa. The sport's mother body understands the commercial value of attracting the men in blue.
The big bucks come from the Indian television market. So South African Cricket Board is selling its rights to SuperSport, but internationally it's selling them to maybe Sky in England, to Star Sports in India. And it's that Star Sports that are paying the big bucks, by miles bigger than anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, it's massive. I mean, I think if this tour was lost, yes, they would have to really review its way forward. I think commercially, India is the powerhouse of the game. The support that you get from broadcasters, sponsors, when India arrive is immense. And I think that's why it was so important to make sure that this tour happened.
The battle lines have been drawn. The Proteas have a significant record to defend, but where will the 2021-2022 series be won or lost?
There's another one.
We need to make sure that we're playing the game at our own tempo. We're doing our basics well, and I think we need to be consistent in doing our basics. And I think we should be on the better side of India if we play to our strengths and weaknesses and not play to the Indian strengths and weaknesses.
India, they have one thing in their mind, is to beat South Africa in South Africa. And in South Africa, they have a title to defend. I mean, they need to defend that. So by all means, we're going to have a very good series.
I think it's in my DNA to win. Don't play for second best. Otherwise, I wouldn't waste my time and energy in playing. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the battles and the duels against the best team in the world. You want to showcase your skill against the best in the world. And this is a great opportunity for us to do that. I mean, it can put so many bad things to bed in such a short space of time. The last 2 to 3 years can just hopefully be a great learning curve for us, and hopefully dissipate by us being able to go out and win the series.
A good tour now against India will propel this team confidence-wise and up the ranking order, because there's a Test championship that there's now to play for, which is wonderful. Every game has this type of importance to it. There's no dead jobbers anymore. So I think it's an extremely important tour for this developing team that's on the brink of doing something really special.
Yep, a great rivalry. Well, South Africa trying to defend their record here on home soil. India trying to cross that final frontier, winning away from home in many areas, but haven't done it here in South Africa.